This final episode of Derek and Matt Love Comics recorded April 14th, 2019. I have nothing to plug. I have nothing to add. I have no music. Welcome to the show. With me as always is Derek. How you doing, Derek?
I had something prepared, and I can't remember what it was.
That is the show in a nutshell, folks.
Oh my goodness! So yeah. I come to bury the show, not to praise it. I think that's what I was gonna say.
Well, I'm a little sad. I'm not completely cool with the idea of what we're doing right now, but I feel like it's something we needed to do.
It's your idea.
I know it's my idea, and it's important, and I'm getting ready to explain it. So in 2 weeks, I will be. I think it's 2 weeks. I got the date written down in my handy dandy blue elephant planning book. Yeah, I just gave a plug to somebody. In 2 weeks, I will be canceling the Podbean service, as we have not recorded since January. Right, first week of January was the last show we did.
Oh, it was at least the middle of January.
Right. We kind of did like a year-end wrap-up type thing.
Mm-hmm.
For a number of reasons, we have not been able to record regularly. I know at the end of last year we were kind of getting sporadic, but we kept the show going. But yeah, it has just been impossible for us to record as of late. That is technical reasons. Derek's been having computer problems. Hopefully he makes it through what short episode we have planned for tonight, because his laptop...
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, because his laptop is... Oh, I don't even know how it's working right now. And, so it's that. It's personal reasons. It's, I've had a very up and down, interesting month. Coming out of C2E2 and going into heading toward Free Comic Book Day in the beginning of May, which is also my birthday, and it just seems like I haven't had no time to myself, and personal things, and I quite frankly put my dog down this morning, and it's just been one thing after another on both of our ends, and it just hasn't been feasible for us to record a podcast on a regular basis to the quality level that we at least we had become accustomed to. Hopefully you had become accustomed to it as well.
I'm proud that I did not snicker at you saying the quality.
Hey, I think we did a good show. I always enjoyed our show.
Fun. It was fun.
And I had fun doing it, and you know what? It was something I always wanted to do. It was something I always wanted to prove that I could do, and when I had the idea to do it, there was nobody else I had in mind to do it with besides you, so I'm glad you came along with me on this. I want to say it's like 2016. I still have it in my phone, like list of things I want to do this year, and start a podcast with Derek was on that list.
Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate it. It has been a lot of fun. It's been stressful at times. I'm not going to lie about that, but on the whole, getting to talk with you for a few hours each week about comics and movies and what have you, we're going to do it anyways. Might as well record it. And in doing so, it has been fun.
We've actually made that comment a number of times of we were doing this anyway, we might as well put a microphone in front of us.
Yes.
So there's that. Yeah, so I mean I'll miss it for sure. Yeah, I think I just found a thing that I wrote on my phone. What a year 2016 was. I wrote this on January 1st, 2017, and I basically put my list of positive things that happened that year, list of negative things that happened that year. Number one positive thing, Cubs win World Series. Number one negative thing, Trump.
Oh, yeah. I'm not going to say anything about that.
And my things I'd like to accomplish in the next year, number 8 on that list was start podcast with Derek.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. So that's, and some of these other things on the list I actually did, and some of these other things on the list I did not really do. But hey, that's life. So it also might sound cliche. That was my phone hitting the floor. Or even maybe melodramatic, but recent events have made me feel like I'm moving on to another stage of my life. And I'm obviously, I just mentioned my birthday. I'm not getting any younger. It just happens, you know.
I'd like to paraphrase the great philosopher Jeff Goldblum and say, life um finds a way.
Yeah, that it does, and yeah,
No, it's just, I understand completely. Your career, if we can call it that,
um,
has
I think that's part of the situation. Is I am now realizing it is a career.
right. But the point being that you have a growing number of responsibilities with your work life, and it's taken away a lot of time from doing stuff like this, and that's fine. People move on. I mean, it sounds funny saying this because it sounds like, oh my gosh, we're ending not just the show, but everything else is ending. Matt's moving on. I'm not going to talk to him anymore, which is a lie because
Right.
I'm going to be talking to you every single day, and we're still going to be getting on Skype a couple times a week. It's just, yeah, priorities change,
Right. Right.
and this does not mean that we might not do a new show in a year or two, maybe even a couple of months. I don't know. You don't know. Priorities change. You might get into a groove where you're balancing things much better, and things are improving for me. Maybe I get a new laptop.
Right.
That'd be
Right.
nice.
And really, I mean, I was going to get into like things we liked about the show and things we didn't like about the show. And my biggest regret with the show is that we never got. We have our fan base. I'm not going to pretend like we don't. It might be small, but we do have our fan base. But we never got to the point where we were able to monetize it. Because if we did get to that point, it wouldn't have been an issue to buy you a new laptop. You
Oh
know.
no, no.
But we just never quite got to that point. But no, do you have a favorite moment or episode from the show that you'd like to mention?
Oh, okay. I don't. I think it's been established that I do not listen to the episodes after we record simply because I cannot stand the sound of my own voice. But recording wise, two thoughts, two episodes come to mind. One is I am extremely proud of the early episode we did. Actually, I believe it was episode 1, where we recorded the episode about Superman the movie, and we recorded an entire, was it like 3 hour recording
I don't
session?
think it. Well, the entire recording session was 3 hours because
Well,
we recorded and it didn't record, and we then started over and basically did the show again.
yeah, you said you want to do this tomorrow. I said, or do you want to do it now? And I said, oh, let's just do it now.
That
And
was
I was half asleep, and we recorded a new episode after midnight. It was nuts.
that was
It was,
technically our second episode because we had done the
well,
Supergirl finale as our like test episode.
right. That was episode 0,
Right.
as labeled on
Right. Right.
Podbean
Right.
and
Right.
whatnot. So that's one of my favorite things, just simply because that was our second episode, and man, we recorded it twice, and we did a good episode, I thought.
I thought we did too. I will. I'll throw this out here. You said you don't listen to the show. That's the only episode I haven't listened to all the way through. The sound's out of sync because at the time I was recording you on one recording and me on another recording,
Right.
and so the sound is slightly out of sync, and I just can't listen to it. Like it bothers me to listen to it that it didn't come out how I wanted it to come out.
Yeah, we had a lot of technical difficulties
Yeah,
back
we
then.
didn't know what we were doing, and we went for one of our favorite topics, right?
Hmm.
You know, before we knew what we were doing. So
Right. I would also like to mention as the second favorite moment would be recording the episode of our favorite superheroes, because my goodness, we actually got very emotional in that episode.
So I was
And
actually going to mention that that is my favorite episode that we did.
yeah, I think it was easily the most heartfelt episode that we have done.
And my all-time favorite moment from the show was your completely unsolicited, on me not expecting it at all, heartfelt uh, love letter to Hank Pym in the middle of that show, because it wasn't even just to that character. The name of the episode was "Superheroes Mean a Lot to Us,"
Oh yeah.
and you hit the nail on the head as to why these fictional characters can have such an impact on our life. And it was to me it was absolutely beautiful
Oh,
hearing you describe why this character was so important to you.
Well, thank you. It just goes into what people have been saying for years, and that is finally getting noticed now, is that representation matters.
Right.
These characters matter. These characters inspire people. They tell people you're not alone. They tell people you can do better. You can achieve greatness. You have it in you. These aren't just silly comic book characters. I mean, they are, but they're not. They mean so much more. It's like I'm not the first person. I will not be the last to make the notion that superheroes are modern myth, are modern mythology,
Right.
and that was the whole purpose of mythology, or back centuries ago, millennia ago, is that the Greek gods inspired people. They were relatable, and comic books superheroes. That's what we have today. So yes, that episode, I I'm very proud of that episode too.
Yeah, that was my favorite episode. I think we also did some other good stuff, along the way. I really enjoyed our Flash Gordon episode. I really enjoyed. I thought one of our most creative episodes was the year-end episode from the previous year. Not, I'm sorry, not the year-end episode. The Christmas episode where we kind of made our Christmas lists.
Oh yeah, that was
I
fun.
I thought that was an interesting an interesting idea for an episode where we actually said, like, if there were things we would wish for in the fandom, what would they be? And I thought we both came up with some really good things. I really liked our Stan Lee tribute.
Yes. The thing about that episode is that that was one that wasn't planned either. We were gonna skip that week, and we had nothing planned because I can't even remember why. But it essentially was like one of the early examples of what ended up derailing us for the last several months, where work and personal stuff and computer issues just started taking a toll. That was essentially the first hit, let's say, or the first salvo.
Yeah, it was
Use
one
that.
of the. Yeah, absolutely. I see what you're
And
saying.
then Stan Lee passed away, and we both agreed that there was no way we were not going to discuss that. So we just jumped online or on Skype and winged it, much like we're doing right now, because I didn't think we were going to be able to fill up like 30 minutes uh, talking about the end of the show today, but apparently we're doing it.
Well, it was important to me. I know you always joke about this, but we do have our fans, and I've had people ask what's going on with the show. So I felt like a little bit of closure
Oh
was
yeah,
necessary.
yeah, I do not disagree with that.
So
It's funny. You were constantly being asked about the show and people talking about the show. No one ever brings it up to me. My dad assumes I've been recording it all this time, and even though I keep telling him, no, the computer's not working right. I can't record a 3 hour show or a 3 hour session.
right.
But,
No, I mean, yeah, I mean, whatever. It is what it is.
yeah.
I'm trying to think of other moments I really liked. I really liked our Dark Knight episode. I really liked something I wanted to do from the beginning that we waited till last year to do was when we hit the Charlie Brown specials.
hmm
I really enjoyed doing that. Um,
I am still amazed that you let me rant about Blade Runner for what was it, an hour?
that's a very early episode.
Yes.
I've listened to that one more than once. Because I
Oh,
listened to it at the
you
time.
fool.
No, I listened to it at the time, and then after I saw, we were so down on the idea of the new Blade Runner,
hmm
and after I saw the new Blade Runner and freaking loved it, I went back and listened to the episode. I'm like, why? What were we saying? Because I know we were both down on it.
Well, the issue with that was that we had expectations of what they were going to do, and I'm trying to remember the name of the director, Dennis Villeneuve, I think,
Yes, that sounds right.
completely sidestepped all those expectations, gave us something that we were not expecting, and I am forever grateful. Because for years we were being told that if they ever do a sequel, it's Deckard's going to be a replicant. Which, if you want our opinions on that issue, you go listen to that episode.
Right. Yeah, I think that's also the episode where we talked about Adam West passing too, which was that was very early for us, and it was like,
Uh,
oh, we have to do a memorial episode, and we just started doing this podcast.
yeah, I think the Adam West episode was maybe the week before. I would have to check.
Yeah, I'm looking back to the history of the show right now. The V for Vendetta episode I really enjoyed doing. All our Stranger Things, like I'm gonna miss doing Stranger Things season 3 or Glow season 3.
Oh yeah,
You know,
yeah.
because I really enjoyed doing that stuff. I always wanted the comic book basics thing to take off more than it did. You know, I did a couple of those as side episodes, and we never really decided how it was gonna best fit into the show. But yeah, you're right. Episode 3 was So Long Old Chum, and that was where we talked about Adam West, and then episode 4 was spoiler alert, Derek is a replicant. On this week's episode, Derek rants about Blade Runner, and Matt admires Boris Karloff. I don't even remember why. Oh, because it was the whole Universal Monsters. They can't get a reboot right. That was the other part of the discussion
Oh
that
yes,
episode.
yes.
So
I like Boris Karloff too. Just putting that out there.
yeah, and like we did 4 episodes, and then we were like, we have to do a bonus episode because we just watched Glow and it's amazing. So literally, we did a bonus episode between our 4th and 5th episodes. Yeah, I mean,
the halcyon days.
well, you know, but you say that, but then like episode 5 was our Mel Brooks episode, and episode 6 was our Indiana Jones episode, and I like both of those episodes. I enjoyed doing both of those episodes. They were ones that later I felt we could have done that better. We should have just done one Indiana Jones movie at a time, or you know, just done one Mel Brooks movie at a time. Like once we got into our groove and we knew what we were doing, I felt like we could have done a better job with those episodes.
Yeah, but it was very experimental for us at that time.
I'm gonna miss doing the San Diego wrap up because I'm going to San Diego this year. I never thought that would happen to me. I'm going to San Diego this year. So
Who knows? I don't know. Maybe we will record a special episode for that, or maybe not. I can't make promises like that because we're closing shop.
well,
but,
you know, something I'd really like to do. But and don't take this the wrong way. It's kind of dependent on you and your tech setup.
right.
Is if we get you up and running again, like maybe not reopen the podcast feed, but maybe do this as a quick, like, oh, we're gonna talk about San Diego and we'll just record a YouTube episode because we have a YouTube channel that we barely use, and just post it there. You know, I could see doing something like that.
Right.
So yeah, it's episode 14, all the way back in September of 2017. That was The Superheroes Mean a Lot to Us. And yes, I'm saying how some of these early episodes were rough and we didn't know what we were doing yet, but I think we got everything right on that episode. Like that was the episode where we were just like, hey, we're gonna bare our souls about why we're comic nerds.
I'm starting to get a little emotional here.
You know, I had a funny I had a funny moment at the store the other day. That's Galactic Greg's at 1407 East Lincoln Way in Valparaiso, Indiana. If you don't know, somebody brought in a comic collection that they were. I could tell right away something was up because I kept asking, "Oh, you know, are we looking to sell or you know what are we doing?" And he kind of wasn't giving me an answer. I guess I want to see what they're worth. If they're worth anything. And it was an old guy. I mean, I don't know, maybe in his 50s, probably older than that though. Probably in his early 60s. It was an old guy, and I'm going through his stuff, and it's like, oh, there's a giant size X-Men in here. And the guy looks at me and goes, man, I remember when I bought that. Which is something like I can go through my collection and do, you know.
Oh yeah.
You know, and we hit the point where it was like, oh, we just figured out what's going on here. The wife wanted him to see what they were worth, and he's not emotionally ready to part with them. You know, and Jeremy and I are standing there, and Jeremy's like, I can't say a word to you. I have 10,000 comic books at home, and I would not sell one of them. So I totally understand where you're coming from, you know. So it's like, yeah, this stuff, it matters to our stupid nerdy hearts, you know.
Yeah, It's this weird mix of nostalgia, but also that it's just it's the history of ourselves.
Yeah,
As you said, the guy said that he remembers buying the issue. It's I can't rem. If you ask me to remember, buying such and such issue, I might not think about it. But as soon as I open up my long box and I pick up the comics, I'm looking at it. I can tell you, it's like a rush. It just comes over you.
well, I don't ever remember the I don't ever remember the issue number,
Hmm.
but I can absolutely tell you the first comic book that I ever bought at Galactic Regs. It was the second part of Batman Dark Knight Dark City. I don't remember the issue number. It's an issue of Batman, and I always remember that. And if we're going through collections or whatever, and that issue comes up, I always go first comic I ever bought here.
Yeah, I remember the first two comics I bought at my local comic shop. Uh, I think I mentioned in the past on the show that I used to pick up random comics in grocery stores and convenience stores,
Right.
as a kid. And there was a period for like a year or two from like 88 to early 89 or through 89 where I was buying more and more comics at the neighborhood convenience store, The Flash, the various Superman books. And then I started buying, but I was picking them up randomly. I wasn't like I wouldn't call them collecting because I wasn't getting issue by issue by issue on purpose until Hawk and Dove issue number one came out, and I collected the first 10 issues of that at this one little convenience store, which was it was to say it was a little convenience store is an understatement because this was like it essentially looked like it was set up in a box
Mm-hmm.
because it was like this little portable building, and but then it closed after issue 10 came out, and I went a couple months. I didn't have any of the issues. Couldn't get 11, couldn't get 12, and then finally someone had told me at my junior high that there was a comic shop downtown. This would be Fantasy Realm in Cornwall, Ontario, and I end of August, just before the new school year started, right before I was about to start grade 9 high school, I talked to my parents. My parents decided to take me downtown to look for it, and I found those two issues. And that was the first time I had ever been in a comic book shop.
Mm-hmm.
19 that would have been end of August 1990.
Yeah, it was summer of '90 when I found Greg's, and I've said before, Batman '89 was what got me into being a huge collector. A comic collector proper.
Hmm.
And I remember driving through town, and so I would have been what, 14ish? Sounds right.
Oh, you would have been 14, yes,
Yeah.
because I turned 14 a few weeks later.
And I remember seeing the billboard, and it had how I remembered is it had the Silver Surfer on it. Now it wasn't called Galactic Greg yet because Greg, my understanding is he basically created his own internship by going to another local shop that was called 10th Planet and saying, "Hey, open a store here and I'll run it for you," and then he bought him out. That's how I remember it happening. I've never actually discussed this with anybody is to see how it actually all went down. But I still remember the Silver Surfer being there, which is on our Galactic Regs logo now. And I remember thinking, "Wow, I got a sign with the Silver Surfer. I got to go there." Because I'm 14 years old and like I mentioned the Silver Surfer to anybody in my life, and they're like, "What are you talking about, kid?" you know. So it's like, wait, there's a sign with the Silver Surfer on it. Now I have like 6 shirts with the Silver Surfer on it that say Galactic Regs. So, man, I'm looking at this, and do you believe it's been over a year since our first Hellboy episode, and over a year since our first Invincible episode?
Oh, we never really got very far with those, did we?
Well, we got farther on Invincible than we did on Hellboy, but I'm going to
Yes.
regret not finishing that out because I really wanted to go all the way through. I'm also going to regret not doing, as I just mentioned, Batman '89 because we were saving that for the anniversary this year for the,
Hmm.
and so that's what I'm going to regret not doing.
I always thought it was funny that we did the 3 Ghostbusters episodes. We did the Ghostbusters remake first, or I should say reboot first, and then we did the year later we did Ghostbusters 1 and 2 back to back in October. Was that this past October?
Yes.
And I don't know why, but for some reason, we got more downloads on Ghostbusters 2 than we got on the original film. I've never understood that, but for some reason it amuses me.
It is funny, man. It's I the emotional couple of days that I've had, and I was fine, and now my nose is getting snotty because we're recording.
Uh,
And we never did an Infinity episode either, did we? For the actual movie.
for the actual movie, no, we did the comic,
We did the
yes,
comic, and then
Infinity Gauntlet.
when we did the start of the MCU thing when we had Malcolm on, which I thought also was a really good episode. Yeah, so right now we have 31 downloads on episode 64. Bustin' Makes Us Feel Good, which is low for us. Like we usually averaged about 60, but we've got 42 downloads on the Ghostbusters 2 episode. Oh, it's funny.
6 people more. Six more people went, Ghostbusters 2, I'm listening to that.
And then only 27 people listen to our Charlie Brown Halloween episode.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah, it's weird like going through the feed and going, wow, only 15 people listen to this episode. Wow, 80 some people listen to this episode, and I don't think it's that good of an episode, you know? But so quickly for the last time, been up to anything cool? Done anything good lately?
Oh my goodness. I honestly can't think of anything at the moment now that I'm on the spot because I don't have any notes.
Well, we both saw Shazam and we both really liked it.
Oh yes,
First
yes.
movie you've seen in the theater in a couple of years.
Oh yeah, first movie I've seen in the theater since The Force Awakens, New Year's Eve 2015. Yeah, it was the Friday that the movie opened. My brother messaged me, asked if I wanted to go see the film with him and his boys, age 3 and 5, on the Sunday on matinee, and that would have been Sunday of last week. And I wasn't sure, but I ended up just saying, you know what? He's asked me to go, and I really want to see the movie, so I'm going to do it. So I did it, and I had a blast. It was a really, really fun film.
Yeah, Alexa, lights on, please. Yes, I mean bedroom lamp. You know what I'm talking about. Trying to do a podcast here. I'm sitting here talking, and
that cameo.
I'm sitting here talking, and the lights go out. No, the day that Shazam came out, there was some other unpleasantness, and I won't get into it because it's not my unpleasantness to share. But it was kind of a rough day, and I was like, man, if I don't go see Shazam tonight, I'm not gonna see it. Like, I've not seen Dumbo yet, which I love the original Dumbo, and I love Tim Burton, so I really want to see Dumbo. I don't know anything about it at this point. Like, I haven't talked to anybody about is it good. I haven't not looked at reviews, anything, but I haven't seen it yet. And I said, man, if I don't go see Shazam, I'm not gonna see it. And I asked my boss if she wanted to go, and it kind of surprised me because she was kind of down on the idea of it being like a comedy film. But we ended up going, and like both of us really enjoyed the movie. So, yeah, I think to me, I was more excited, except for maybe Endgame. I was more excited for Shazam than any of these other superhero movies come out in the last year or so, because we're kind of in a golden era of Spider-Man films right now. Like everything with Spidey's been great, so that's cool. You know, by and large, the Marvel films are better than average, if not, whatever else. But to me, Shazam is a character I love. When we did our episode on our favorite superheroes, I think I mentioned that he would have been my runner-up at number 6. So he was just outside of my top 5. But he's also a character who's never really properly used. Even in the comics, he doesn't get properly used a lot, even though I'm really loving Jeff Johns' new run on the series. So to see Shazam totally realized the way I wanted to see him in a major movie just was completely heartwarming to me. And, minor spoiler if you haven't seen Shazam yet, but when Mr. Mind shows up, I'm like, the movie ended and my boss looked at me and she said, "What did you think?" And my exact words were, "I have lived on this earth too long. I cannot believe I just saw a movie where I got to see Mary Marvel kicking ass and Mr. Mind show up and talk." through his little microphone box. I can't fathom that movie got made, and it was good.
Yeah, we are through the looking glass. I cannot understand or comprehend the world that we are living in right now. Uh, right now, as we're recording, they're wrapping up Star Wars Celebration,
Yes.
and a whole bunch of news coming out about the upcoming Mandalorian TV show.
Right.
And I said to some friends of mine a few hours ago, I cannot fathom that we live in an age where Werner Herzog is going to be in a Star Wars property. The famed, celebrated German art house director. What is this world? I don't know. Mr. Mind is in a huge, big blockbuster film.
And they're talking about he's going to be the main villain in the sequel.
Yeah, apparently they're developing the sequel right now as we speak, and Savannah's going to be back with Mark Strong playing him at Mr. Mind.
Yeah, it's supposed to be Monster Society of Evil, so which is amazing.
Which is incredible. Yeah, I cannot believe this. This is definitely a golden age for superhero movies, for genre films, I guess.
Right. I also saw, Derek has not seen it yet. I also saw Captain Marvel, which was very good.
I've heard some good things.
I put it right about the middle of my my MCU listing, my MCU chart on Flickchart.
I would like to point out that that's actually really good, considering most of the MCU films rank very highly with you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's only like 3 that are not in the top half of my chart, of my total chart. So
yeah, there's only 2 that I'm down on in any degree.
And yeah, so I thought it was a really good film. I really liked, like, I guess the problem with Captain Marvel was quite frankly was Wonder Woman, because it's a very similar film to Wonder Woman, and Wonder Woman does it better. But hey, I'm all for this female-led superhero movies, and as you were saying earlier, representation. Like they don't do a bad job with it at all. Like I thought she was great female representation. So it's just Wonder Woman was better. But I'm really looking forward to her in Endgame. So.
Yeah. Just discussing these movies right now. In the last month, I've seen a couple of that I missed that were from last year. Into the Spider-Verse I finally got to see, and I loved that movie. That movie was great.
Yeah, it's really good. I've taken some flack because I said it shouldn't have won Best Animated Feature. I would have given it to Incredibles 2.
Honestly, I probably would have given it to Incredibles 2 also, but it was a very, very good movie.
I stand by my statement here because it didn't exceed my expectations. I expected it to be great, and it was great. Incredibles 2, I expected to be garbage, and it was great. That might be a stupid way to judge it, but that's right. Just, I'm like, we're in a golden age of Spider-Man films where they are just, Spider-Man was great, Spider-Man 2 is amazing, Spider-Man 3 had problems, and then the 2 amazing films were and then ever since then, like, if Spidey's in a film, he's great. He's in Civil War, he's great. He's in Infinity War, he's great. He's in his own film, he's great. This new film that's coming out, the Far From Home, looks really good. And Spider-Verse was great.
Spider-Verse is the film that I think may have finally resparked the cold embers of my childhood Spider-Man fandom. Because Spider-Man was a character I loved when I was a kid. He was never my favorite, but he probably would have been in my top 3, if not my top 5.
Mm-hmm.
Or my top 5, if not my top 3, I should say. And Into the Spider-Verse was just so much fun. Peter B. Parker, I'm watching the movie, I said, oh my god, I'm relating to this character so much. It's sad. And then Spider-Gwen and Spider-Ham. Spider-Ham is a character who I bought the comics when they were new back in 1983 when I was 7 or 8. And I would talk about this character and comic to people over the years, and no one ever had an idea what the heck I was talking about. And then all of a sudden, Spider-Ham is in a major movie. And it won a Best Picture Oscar for animated feature. The other film I've seen recently was I finally got to see Ant-Man and the Wasp, which I absolutely loved. I loved that film so much more than the first one, which I did like quite a bit. But Ant-Man and the Wasp, I just thought was a phenomenal film, just entertaining as heck,
Hmm.
and it's already I think it's just outside my top five MCU films.
That's cool. Yeah, that movie's a lot of fun.
But yeah,
I hadn't
top,
seen it
just
since the
mhm.
theater, and we watched it together the one night. And I'll be totally honest, I fell asleep toward the end. Um, but that has nothing to do with the movie. And I've been
Right.
meaning to go back and watch the last like 20 minutes of the movie because I know I missed a little bit of the finale. But
The
yeah,
thing with me is I ended up watching it like 3 or 4 times over that weekend because I picked it up. I managed to get it a little cheaper at Walmart and picked it up, and because I had the wrong sticker on it, they had to honor that. And so I got a couple bucks cheaper and picked it up because Marvel movies from Marvel Studios, Disney, never drop down in price. So I picked that up and watched it with you, and I was like, "Oh my god, that's really entertaining." So I ended up watching a couple more times. So I was like, all I could think was, "I love this movie. This movie is great." I'm shocked at how much I enjoyed that movie.
you finally saw Aquaman as well, right?
I did. I That was a really good, fun film. I can't believe all these characters that I love, that I have loved since I was a kid, that I consider among my favorite superheroes, are finally popping up in these major films. Hank Pym, Mira, Mary Marvel. These are characters I adore, and they're now getting out there. People know who they are now.
Right.
That it's incredible. What a time to be alive.
Yeah, it's all kinds of crazy. um, I also
I, I just I,
saw.
I just hope I just hope Warner's gets around to making the new God so I can finally add Big Barda to that list.
Yeah, that would be cool. I also saw the new Hellboy. Um, I don't agree with the massive amount of criticism it's been getting. It is not a perfect film by any means. It is not a great film by any means. It is a solid film. It was an enjoyable film. I feel like it did a better job representing Hellboy as he is portrayed in the comics than the other two films did. That being said, the charm of Ron Perlman and the directing ability of Guillermo del Toro, those movies just feel better. They feel like better
Mhm.
movies than the new movie does. But
Right. It's just if I may interrupt, the distinction is those are very much Del Toro
they
films more
are.
than
They are.
Hellboy, whereas this is very much a Hellboy
This felt
film.
like a Mignola comic. You know, the way the visuals and seeing some of the characters that show up, it felt like a Mignola. You know,
Yeah,
so
the trailers, a lot of the shots and action sequences look like they're panels from the comic.
yeah, so that's cool. Yeah, I enjoyed it. It's like dead center on my on my flick chart, so it's like a 3 star, you know, completely average film, I guess.
3 stars out of 5.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I enjoyed it. So, I had something else I was gonna say about Captain Marvel, and I can't think of it now. But, um,
I have not seen Captain Marvel, but I plan to once it hits Blu-ray.
oh, I know what I was gonna say. My big issue going into Captain Marvel was the the trailers and everything. While they looked good to me, the I always describe Carol, who is a character I've liked for a very long time. It's not like
Hmm.
there was a bandwagon jump here, you know, with her having a movie. I was like, oh, she's much like Shazam, a character I've always liked that they never really did it a lot with, and since they made her Captain Marvel, they've been doing more with her, and then ends up getting this movie. But I would always describe her as brassy or ballsy, and I wasn't seeing that in the trailers. And when the movie starts, her first action sequence, like Brie Larson nails it, and I'm like, okay, this is Carol. This is the Carol I wanted to see. So I was very happy about that turn of events. Um, if this is our last show, let's mention him one more time. Hey, James Gunn's back.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, a lot of ups and downs with that storyline.
Yeah, but there was a good month and a half where we talked about James Gunn on every episode.
Yeah, well, that's because there was constant news about him.
And I want to say, I don't remember exactly, I don't remember exact words, but I think I called this right. Didn't I say as soon as it all died down, they'd just quietly bring him back? They didn't.
You might have.
They didn't exactly quietly bring him back, but
No.
it,
The thing that I'm kind of impressed by though is that he is now going to be writing and directing the Suicide Squad sequel. Uh, some people are calling it a reboot, other ones aren't. So I don't know, but he's doing the sequel to that, and then he's going to go do Guardians. And the idea that Warner Brothers and Marvel are kind of accommodating each other with this really, to me, just goes to show that a lot of the rivalry between the two companies, DC and Marvel, is really mostly in the fans' heads, I think.
oh yeah, I mean, distinguished competition, right?
Yeah, right.
So nothing wrong with that. Yeah, hopefully Suicide Squad's good. I don't hate the other film. It's my least favorite of the DCEU films, but we've established that we like the DCEU films more than most people do.
Mm-hmm.
I got a guy at work that keeps telling me, "Can you imagine if those movies would have actually been good? We'd be in a golden age of superhero movies right now." I'm like, one, we are in a golden age of superhero movies right now, and I love BVS. I love Wonder Woman. I loved Shazam. I really like Justice League. I really like Aquaman. I like Suicide Squad well enough.
BVS has the problem of being way too philosophical than people expected, and I'm going to leave it at that.
Yeah, I mean, we don't need to get it. That is an episode though that I would have liked to have done, is us to actually analyze that movie, because we never got around to that. We skirted around it a bunch and kept saying, "Oh, we'll save that for our BVS episode,"
Mm-hmm.
and we never actually did it. So that's another one. But yeah, I think I'm running out of things to say.
I think I ran out of things to say a while ago.
Well, I did something that I was saving for the end of the show. So we'll just get into that. I want to thank everybody who's ever listened. Everybody who ever gave us a like. Everyone who ever subscribed, downloaded. Particularly, I know there's a number of people that come in the store that talk to me about the show, who enjoyed it. From John Schick, who just asked me the other day, what was going on with the show, and said, "Well, I want to let you know at least one person misses the show." I know several times he would come in the store and say, "It's weird because I got you in my ear right now, and then I come in and I start talking to you." And I that sounds terrible, John. Paul Pecos, Jeff Swadlowski, who several times would walk into the store and just immediately start going, "Wait, you've never seen this movie that you mentioned on the podcast?" like he'd walk into the store like we were in mid conversation on the podcast, So he's another one that listened quite a bit. I know there's more. I'm sorry if I'm forgetting. Brad Verab, I believe we've talked about the show in the past. So yeah, if I'm forgetting you, I apologize. But thanks to everybody who's ever listened. And I also want to say that part of the reason that we're having the to stop here is because of, as you said, my responsibilities at work and whatnot. I really love what I do, and I never saw myself in this position. I never thought that I would be where I'm at right now. And, Greg was like my idol when I was a kid. He was like my local idol, Mm-hmm. And it always meant a lot to me that he brought me on board to work in the store. And now that I'm there, and sadly that he's gone, I feel like I work for great people. I work with great people. From Renee to Jeremy to even to like Allegra, who's not there anymore. I work with great people, and I feel like a lot of you that listen to the show who also come into the store, I've enjoyed meeting you, and there's something to be said about, and I was just thinking about this the other day, and it struck me the importance of this. There's, whether it's customers that listen to the show or just other customers that I've dealt with, I've helped you get the things that you need, get the things that you want. I've helped you Christmas shop. I've helped you birthday shop. I've helped you get your son his first comic book. I've helped you get your daughter her first board game. I hope all those things mean a lot to you, because I'm amazed at how much it means to me to be able to be in that position. So not only do I feel like I work with great people, the people that I work with, but I feel like I work with great people, the people that are our customers. Um, and I always meant for this show to be sort of, you know, we carried the Greg sponsorship for so long, and I always considered it to be kind of like part of what I did at work. Um, so I always was hoping for the crossover of the people that came into the store and then the people that would listen to the show. So hopefully, if you did both, you know, I hope you enjoyed it. Um, if you don't know this, if you go to the Galactic Greg's Facebook page, usually every Tuesday you're gonna have a video by me telling you about what comics are coming out that week, and it's a lot of it. There's no discussion, which is part of the reason why I'm not continuing the show without Derek in the midst of his technical problems, because you know I could record whenever I wanted to if it wasn't a matter of both of our schedules, but I always thought the show was the conversation. You know, I don't. Without the conversation, I didn't think we had a show. I can sit here and give you my opinions, and yes, I am probably an opinionated person, but without the conversation, I didn't think it ever worked. So you know, the video you get on the Galactic Greg's Facebook page, it's going to be a lot of me telling you, hey, this is coming out. This is what I think of it. This is why you should get it. It's going to be a lot of my opinion, not the conversation. But I'm still there, trying to help you out. So take that for what you will. And yeah, I'm gonna miss doing it. And if the opportunity arises where we can do this again on a regular basis and maintain the quality that we came to expect from ourselves, we will absolutely look into doing that. But for the time being, it doesn't make any sense for me to continue to pay for the hosting when we're not recording episodes. I do check in on the page every once in a while. We're not really getting additional downloads because we're not producing new content. That's to be expected. However, I will say that I'm going to leave the Derek and Matt Love Comics email active, and I'm going to leave the Derek and Matt Love Comics Facebook page active, and I have all the recordings of all the episodes. So when the stream goes down, and it's probably going to leave like 2 episodes up because that's all it's going to fit without us having the paid service. If you're looking for an old episode, give me a shout. I will get it to you. I will find a way to get it to you. So that's my piece. Derek, any last words for the last time?
Oh gosh, no pressure here. Try to follow up that. I would also like to thank our listeners. I'd like to thank everyone who gave us a listen once, and I would very much like to thank everyone who listened to us twice. It's been fun. It's been a fun ride. I really want to thank you for taking me along on this. I'm hopeful that sometime in the near future, not too far off, that we'll be able to retool and come back with a new show. I'm genuinely hopeful of that. I think we could. I think we could. It's it's been fun. It's been interesting. As you said, I would not do a show by myself because what would be the entertainment value in that? I would only do this. I would only do a podcast if I was doing it with you. Uh, that's been the big appeal of the show for myself is I get to hang out for a few hours with my best friend and talk about comics and movies and the things we love. And I'm hoping that we're gonna continue doing that, whether or not we have the podcast. But I'm hoping that a few months from now, maybe later, maybe another year, I don't know, we'll be able to do something and start recording again. Until then, thank you to everyone, and keep keep dreaming, keep hoping, and keep reading comics, and just have fun.
Yeah, I mean, this show and anything else I would ever endeavor to do in this type of format, there's nobody else I would want by my back but you.
Well, thank you, sir.
So we're gonna end this love fest and get out of here. And
I'm gonna go cry. I'm getting emotional, man. Jesus.
I've had
Expected that.
yeah, my dog died this morning. You think I'm not emotional?
Oh, it's been tough.
So, yeah. Oh, that's it. That is this week's episode of Derek and Matt Love Comics. Again, I have nothing to plug, and I'm not even probably going to bother putting music in this episode. I hope you enjoyed this final talk with us, and we hope to see you again in the future. Thanks again to everyone who ever listened, and good night.